Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
Thank you for listening to Live the Dream Media.
Does your ordinary radio feel a little limited? If you're looking for a new way to listen, it's time for a fresh start. Introducing the Live the Dream Media app, your premier destination and a new level up for digital radio. Over the last 2 years, we've found new ways to ensure your digital radio experience is the best it can possibly be. From live podcasts that spark new perspectives to a 24/7 soundtrack of live music, and even our built-in merch store. We've built a platform that is convenient, high quality, and simple to navigate. But we're only just getting started. Catch all of our shows weekly and join the Live the Dream Media family today and help us change the airwaves forever. Download it for free on the App Store or Play Store today. Live the dream. The dream starts now.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live the Dream Media Network. We've got an incredible slate of live podcasts waiting for you every week right here on our app. Get your morning started right with Wake Up, hosted by Christopher DeSimone, airing Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. The momentum continues every Monday morning at 9 with the Marana and Oro Valley Experience, hosted by David Samarano and Clint Peak, followed by Truth and Tell with Blair Lametti, meeting at 10:30 a.m. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, join us at 9 a.m. for Southwest Flavor, and don't miss Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales every Tuesday from 10 to 11 a.m. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m., Bruce Ash brings you the inside track, and we wrap up the week every Friday at 9 a.m. with former NBA player Bob Elliott on The Bob Elliott Show. It's all happening live every week. Stay tuned, stay informed, and keep living the dream.
Hey everybody, it's Chris.
Hey, it's David Samarano.
Hey guys, it's Clint Peak over here.
Hi, I'm Blair Lametti Mathias.
And I'm Summer Smeaton.
Hey, I'm Ron Arenas.
And I'm Will Pena.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Curry.
And I'm Mike Bader.
Hi there, I'm Bruce Ash.
Hi, Ed Wilkinson here.
Hi, this is Bob Elliott.
We are Live the Dream Media. Watch and listen to all of our shows Monday through Friday, only on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hey, you found us on your feed. Are you wondering what Live the Dream Media does? I'm going to explain it to you. Let's go. First and foremost, Live the Dream Media is a premier digital...
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales. I believe we're on episode 26. Man, I am pumped for today. And first, I want to start off by saying the show is brought to you by Michael Bader, State Farm Agency, First and River. Guys, he saved me over $1,500 from last year. If you needed an insurance quote, Mike is your guy. He has 4 wonderful ladies working at the office that will take great care of you. Mike's actually not here today, so I have a special co-host today, Alexander Ward. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome. And I'm excited for you to be here as well, because we've just got a stellar guest today. Zach Skow's in the building. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Zach. He's actually not in the building. Excuse me. He's in his own building at home.
Bringing the energy.
Can you hear me?
I can.
What up, Zach?
What's up, gents?
How are you today?
I am terrific. This is a big day, man. It's exciting to be on with you guys. It's also my first day back at the organization I founded 17 years ago, coming out of liver failure. So it's a very full circle moment. A little bit nervous, a little bit scared. We got a lot of fundraising to try to do today. So I'm on with you guys, then down to the rescue ranch, and then we're going to the shelter, and we're making a couple other stops. So yeah, man, I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Well, first of all, we appreciate your time. We know your time's valuable, and we hope that we can make a difference today and help your organization. So anybody who's watching the show this morning, we're going to take a commercial break halfway through, but we're going to be running Zach's website for, is it Marley's Mutts or for?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Marley's Mutts and the Positive Change Program.
Okay. So if you're listening, tune in today, donate whatever you can. Zach has a fantastic organization, which you'll hear about. So let's just jump right into it. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Oh boy, man. I mean, since this is a sobriety focused podcast in many ways, I think it's a good idea to start there. I could probably go grab one of my favorite sober relics too that played a big part of my sobriety. But yeah, we should probably start with that. Probably start back in 2008. Going into liver failure is probably the best place to start.
Okay. What relic are you referring to?
Well, I'll get to it in a second. You know, I've actually never shared it on a podcast. I don't even know if I've shared it publicly on social media. Actually, let me grab it 1 second.
Okay. Excited to see what this is here.
Yeah, no kidding. First time sharing it, exclusive.
So at my
halfway. All right. This is a very big deal. So when I went into back in 2007, 2008, I started to turn yellow. I had been drinking chronically for quite some time. I'd been drinking 24 hours a day for about 5 years, and I went into liver failure. Spent a long time in the hospital, needed a liver transplant in order to survive. I was at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital, essentially just dying of liver disease, and had gotten addicted to Dilaudid and morphine while in the hospital. Just a really, really awful situation. I needed to try and get into a transplant hospital, one of the 7 transplant hospitals in California. I was not able to do that. It was a real struggle. They don't let you into transplant programs unless you have 6 months of sobriety. So it was a very difficult journey. You know, I spent 6 weeks at that hospital just dying. And then by the grace of God, I was able to get a interview at the comprehensive transplant program at Cedars-Sinai. And they admitted me to that program, and then they sent me home to try to accrue the necessary amount of time to get my transplant. And I was extraordinarily ill. I mean, deathly ill at the time. Pancreatic failure, kidney issues, liver failure. And what I found when I got home from the hospital, when I was in a very suicidal spiral where all I could really do was think about taking my life, and you know, sitting there with my dad's gun and kind of just going through the motions and future casting and kind of like dreaming about scenarios where I could leave this planet. You know, it was a very difficult time. And I found this book. Does that look familiar?
Oh man. Love
The
it.
24-hour day book. This was my grandfather died in 1961, and he was an alcoholic. My dad was 14 years old. I never heard anything about this man growing up. All I heard from my dad is that he was a bad man, that he was an alcoholic, that he didn't cry when he died. That's all we ever knew of him. And we knew his name was Kermit, which we thought was funny as kids because of Kermit the Frog. So in my darkest moment, I find a shoebox in my closet with this 24-hour day book, which, as you know, is a prayer, a meditation, and a quote of the day, right? And in this is my grandfather's social security card. There's a piece of paper here that says, it has a number. It says Friedman, and it says 730 Cadillac. I would take this to a meeting that night, and my sponsor would tell me that Friedman was his sponsor's name. There was 5 telephone numbers back then, and that 730 Cadillac was the 730 men's stag meeting on Cadillac Street in downtown Los Angeles.
That's crazy.
This book had not been opened. He died in 1961. There is a ribbon in this book, right? So when I handed it to my dad, he's looking through it going, I'll be darned, this is my dad's book. This is unbelievable. I don't have anything of my dad's. This is crazy. And he goes, hey, son, it's marked. And I go, yeah, what day is that? He goes, and he starts to get this like pale look on his face, and he goes, "It's marked July 3rd." And I go, "What was July 3rd?" He goes, "That's the day he died." So my grandfather died of liver failure in July 3rd, 1961, reading this book. It had never been touched since. I open it 50 years later, dying of liver failure, the exact same disease as him, needing a fucking prayer like you can't imagine. And I find this thing, and I've taken it to meetings for years and years and years and passed it around, and it's like just one of my favorite possessions. So there we go, kicking it off with a bang.
Dude, I don't know if we can get any better than that over
What
the
a
next 45
story.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be able to share it with you guys too, you know, because it's so old and crusty and just got the like patina to it, you know?
I love that. I love that. You know,
Yeah.
the meeting that I go to here locally in Tucson, they've got the 12 steps and 12 traditions on the wall. And I always looked at it and I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting brown color. I don't know how they got that color. But it was from all the smokers back in the day consistently smoking in the room. It just turned brown over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Just a
you're
little
from
flavor.
California originally, correct?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Hermosa Beach, California.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little place called the South Bay. It consists of a few beach towns, Hermosa, Redondo, Manhattan Beach. And yeah, you know, big time culture of partying, drug use, drinking. You know, I grew up around, you know, alcohol and drugs, and I always kind of equated adulthood with using alcohol and drugs. Shout out to Tucson. I approached my rock bottom in Tucson. That's where I got into heavy drugs and selling heavy drugs out there on Miracle Mile. Shout out Miracle Mile. Let's
Wow.
go.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I lived out there for almost 2 years, man. Getting into anyone who's ever spent any time on Miracle Mile and the No Tell Motel knows what I'm talking about.
Oh
But
my Lord.
yeah,
I love that area, man. It's right by the cemetery.
do you?
Yeah. Not anymore, but yeah, I've spent many days there as well.
Yeah.
So we met, just to kind of clue the audience here, we met last year here in Tucson, not on Miracle Mile. We met at Skyline Country Club because you were doing a
Yeah.
fundraiser. And I
Yeah.
was stoked to go. I got off work a little early. I got a picture with you and with the gentleman who I'm blanking his name right now that you brought with you that surfed on.
Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. And just what an incredible individual. And, you know, I heard your story and I was like, wow, that is so incredible. So go ahead and pick up wherever you'd like to here. I mean,
Yeah, man. So, you know, my story really, without going back too far and going into all the culture of drug use and alcoholism, we can kind of, I suppose, skip that. But the real, I'd kind of like to start at the set of miracles that have happened for me in sobriety and kind of the path to sobriety because it was very unconventional. I started to turn yellow and started to go into liver failure in 2007. So I tried to hide this for as long as possible. You know, I was very much so addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was drinking 24 hours a day. I'd gotten in a car accident in 2003 that caused me to, I broke my chest, my sternum, and I broke my shoulder. And after that injury, I was just constantly drinking. I needed to drink to medicate to deal with the pain. I couldn't sleep. There's a bunch of different issues there. So when I started to go into liver failure, I knew something was severely wrong with me, but I didn't have the guts to face it. In fact, I couldn't face it. It was such an overwhelming thing to contemplate that I knew alcohol was causing these problems within me, but I couldn't even get close to thinking about life without alcohol. You know, if I started to contemplate life without alcohol, it's contemplating life without me. You know, it was such an integral part of my existence and who I am. You know, I really felt like some of the only redeemable qualities in me were alive when I was intoxicated. You know, I really could not stand to be alive in between my ears as a sober person. It was just so horrifically difficult to deal with the internal monologue and the dialogue that I was having with myself, just, you know, filled with self-hatred, didn't understand how to overcome things that I had done in the past and be okay with myself, you know, just chronically, as my sponsor would say, I just chronically viewed myself as the piece of shit at the center of the universe. You know, I didn't think much of myself, but that's all I could think about was how terrible I was, you know, and I had no way to get beyond that. So when I went into liver failure, I kind of just acquiesced to the situation. I kind of just said, okay, well, I'm going to die. I have no hope. When I went to the when I finally got checked into the hospital for long-term care, they came up to my dad and said, "You need a liver transplant to survive, and you're not going to get one. You need 6 months of sobriety just to qualify for a transplant, and there's no chance you're going to get one. You're not going to survive 6 months. You have 90 days to live. And so we're just going to try to keep you comfortable. We're going to give you the necessary pain medications and stuff to stay pain-free, and you're going to kind of just whittle away here at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital." And that's exactly what happened. I got addicted within a couple of days to Dilaudid, and every 3.5, 4 hours, I was begging nurses for shots of dope. I was wheeling around in a wheelchair, harassing people. I got a babysitter assigned to me because I was a danger to myself and others. It was a nightmare experience, and we had no hope, none whatsoever. My dad would drive down an hour and a half every day from the house, and he'd tell me every day when he would leave, he'd say, "Man, I got to get you to come home, son, because I can't get your dog to come in the damn house." So I had this dog, Tug, who was just in love with me. And my dad would tell me that Tug would just sit at the top of the driveway waiting for me to come home. And the longer I didn't come home, the longer the dog would just sit outside and wait for me. And it was just nothing was working, until one day we had a meeting. I kind of came to in my hospital room, and there was these three dudes with button-up T-shirts on. They look like Mormons. They look like Jehovah's Witnesses. They had on like ties, and I know now that they came from Salvation Army. Salvation Army does H&I work. They do hospitals and institutions work for people in recovery. So these dudes had heard about my plight to get a liver transplant. So they came to my hospital room, and all of a sudden this dude starts talking to my dad and talking to me about getting through liver failure in prison. So here's a guy, he's yoked, he's tattooed, he looks great, he's got a tie on, he's standing confident in front of me, and he went through liver failure in prison.
Wow.
And he's alive, so here was this first bit of hope that we might be able to turn this around. And so my dad's an aeronautical engineer. He really set to trying to help save my life, by any means necessary, trying to get me into a transplant hospital, trying to get me out of Bakersfield Memorial. By the end of that stay, it was so expensive. The insurance was trying to kick me out of the hospital. They were trying to get me sent home on hospice care to just go die at home and be surrounded by my family and my dogs. And, by that point, it was $1 million in medical bill, and there was no hope that I was going to get better. So when I got a meeting at the Comprehensive Transplant Center, it was a very risky proposition because my dad had to force me out of the hospital. He said, "We got this meeting at Cedars. This is your only chance to get into a transplant hospital. We're leaving Bakersfield right now." And the doctors are like, "Hey, whoa, time out, dude. This guy's so critical right now. He's very fragile. We can't take him out of the hospital. He could die." They're draining me every 3 days. I got a catheter in my back. I got this huge 9 months pregnant belly. I'm completely yellow and purple. And my dad said over my dead body, like, "We're leaving here right now." And so he signed all the paperwork, pulling me out of the hospital against doctor's orders. They cut all his shit off my arms, and we fled to Cedars-Sinai. And Cedars admitted me to the program. It was an all-female transplant team, and they told me, "Look, if we keep you here, if we admit you to this hospital, you're going to die. We're going to get you right back on Dilaudid, and that's going to kill you. You're already so fragile." So they sent me home, and they said, "Hey, Mr. Skow," to my dad, "you got to take care of him. You got to bring him to an emergency room. He's going to need it because he's going to be kicking dope here over the next couple days." And that's exactly what happened. I conned him into taking me to the emergency room for shots a couple of times. And then after that, I had to kick. And so I went through opiate withdrawal at home, and got very, very suicidal, and really didn't understand how anyone gets through this or finds a way forward. I was just kind of waiting to die, and um, just painfully scared of everything that was going on. I was going to meetings. I was going to AA meetings. I was going to recovery meetings. The people there were pretty warm, but they were also worried about getting close to me because I was so sick and I had ammonia on my brain. So I would make no sense. I would be stuck in these moments of complete illucidity where I didn't make any sense. I couldn't tie my shoes. I didn't know where I was. And then I'd kind of snap right back into presence where I was aware. When you're in liver failure, you get all kinds of different liquids and chemicals that stay alive in your body because your liver's not filtering them out.
Yeah.
So, I really threw myself into trying to go to recovery meetings and doing all that stuff, but I just didn't have what it took. I was so scared of life and so scared of figuring out how to move forward that all I could think about was taking my life. So there was one morning I woke up at pardon my language, but I had shit the bed. You know, you lose control of your bowels when you're in liver failure to a huge degree. And I walked into the bathroom to clean myself off or try to clean myself off, you know, and trying to take off my clothes. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and there is this scared shitless man who's completely yellow with skinny, teeny, skinny little arms and a fucking huge belly with varicose veins feeding my belly. I got shit all over my legs. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror going, who on earth is that person? Who is that guy looking back at me? Who is that old man with eyes sunk back in his head with gray skin and yellow arms and fucking bruises everywhere? And I just went, oh my God, you know, I have done it. Like I am completely gone and there is no way forward here. Like I need to just figure out how to get off this rock and like eject myself into another hemisphere because I am so terrified and I am so done with this feeling of not just being out of control, but just waiting to die. And yeah, man, I kind of really settled into that moment like 2 inches from the mirror, just going, man, this is the day. Like you got to do it. You got to lead. You know, you're such a burden to your family. You're such a burden to your dad. You're such a burden to the people who love you. Like you need to just do the honorable thing and get the fuck out of here. And as I'm making that commitment to myself, you know, which actually felt good, believe it or not, it felt good to like know that's what you needed to do, to have some sort of like knowledge that that's how I needed to act. And you
So
know, and in that moment, say that again.
you made a decision in that moment.
Yeah,
Did,
yeah. And I looked down at my dogs like right at that same moment. You know, I'm looking in the mirror, they're over to the right, and they're all lined up next to the toilet, all three of my dogs. And they're looking at me like not only is nothing wrong with me, but that they can see exactly who I am, that I'm right there, that I'm okay, that we're gonna get through this. There was this overwhelming sense of togetherness, of connection, but also this, they were kind of feeding me these vibes that we were going to be okay and that I was still there. And I get really emotional thinking about it because I remember it so well. And to look back at them and to see those eyes and to feel their energy kind of trying to tell me that I'm going to be okay and that we can do this was something I needed so bad to happen for me, man. I didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me. And when you don't have it in you to stay alive, it's so difficult to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other on your own. And to have those dogs give me that commitment that day meant the world. And we just cuddled up on the ground in my bedroom. And I remember journaling about what I was feeling and the support they were giving me and what my dreams would be if I could stay alive and what we would do together. And that was the first day of the rest of my life, man. Like I went after getting better relentlessly. I mean, I changed everything that went into my body. All I drank was vegetable, you know, beet spinach smoothies for the next months. I went to 3 meetings a day religiously every single day. I had to get a comprehensive transplant sign-in sheet just to stay qualified for my transplant. So I had to go to a meeting every day. And I just threw myself into recovery and trying to figure out how to do this. And no drugs, no alcohol, controlled everything that went in my body and just tried to move, man. Just tried to move, put one foot in front of the other. And before I had gotten sick, I'd been volunteering at the Mojave Animal Shelter for years. It was my favorite thing to do. I would go drink and smoke in the parking lot and then just take dogs for walks and sit in kennels and try to desensitize dogs, you know. And so I made that a big part of my recovery where I just started bringing dogs into my home, dogs that were part of other rescues. And so my entire life, instead of focusing on all of my bullshit and all of my foibles and problems and issues, I started to focus on what their needs were, what all of these dogs that were coming into my home, my foster dogs, needed. And what a foster dog needs in rehabilitation is rules, boundaries, discipline, exercise, affection, and love. And what a person in recovery needs is rules, boundaries, discipline, exercise, affection, and love. So as I'm giving these dogs this structure where we're walking every morning, then I'm taking their pictures, I'm writing their bios, I'm making their posters, I'm putting them on the website. We're doing afternoon walks, evening walks. We're doing training stuff. We're doing crating. You know, the more I worked with the dogs, the less I thought about my particular, you know, position in life. And then about a month after that, I was going to Cedars every 2 weeks for testing to make sure that I was, you know, to figure out where I was. And that was the first time I got a test back where they said, hey, you know, we don't know what's going on with you, but your numbers have like radically improved over these last 4 weeks. And we don't really know why, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And we told her, we said, oh, you know, all I'm doing is changing my diet and walking. You know, I'm just getting out there. And they said, well, keep doing it. And so long story short, that's all I did for 6 months was foster dogs, take pictures, write their bios, get dogs adopted, and go to meetings. It's all I did. And by the time I got 6 months of sobriety, not only did I no longer need a liver transplant, but Marley's Mutts, this rescue idea had kind of like gained momentum and support. And all these people in my community had seen this yellow guy in liver failure with a black pit bull going around town all over the place, putting up posters. They supported me and they kept saying, hey, you should do this. And I didn't think I was going to live. So there's nothing for me to do. But after I got 6 months of sobriety and it looked like my liver was going to hang in there, all of a sudden I got a future. And my community says, hey, you should do this Marley's Mutts thing. You should start a nonprofit. And I go, they don't give nonprofit designation to, you know, drunks. Like, how's this going to work? But sure enough, we filed this week, 17 years ago is when I filed for nonprofit status in California and we were awarded. So that's really the beginning of the rest of my life is I've never looked back from that point on. We've adopted Marley's Mutts was formed back then in May of 2009, and we've saved tens of thousands of dogs since. We've been all over the world saving dogs from the dog meat trade, from all over the place, everywhere you can think of, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, all over the place. And Afghanistan, we've done some amazing things. As you know, my biggest program is the Positive Change Program. So for the last 11 years, we've been running rescue dog programs inside of state prisons, federal facilities, juvenile facilities. And yeah, all of a sudden I found myself as an animal rescuer and a nonprofit founder. And that's been my focus for the last 17 years. I still have liver disease. I have what's called stage 2, stage 3 fibrosis. So that's a couple stages below end stage cirrhosis. I'm one of very few people who have worked themselves back from end stage cirrhosis into regressive liver failure. So my liver continues to get better and improve. And I'm thankful for that every single day, man.
What an arc. Wow.
Yeah.
Truly incredible.
Well, that's it. Let me blow my nose real quick.
Man.
It's really not much to say. This guy's got an incredible story. You know?
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, man. So that's it. And what we've been able to do really, you know, what I figured out in that process is how service over self, you know, can rescue you from almost any situation. You know, I spent so many fucking years focused on, you know, like narcissistic, like panic thought, you know, me, things aren't good. Oh, fuck. Oh shit. This fuck, damn it. You know, and it wasn't until I completely ejected myself from the situation mentally because I was not going to be around and started focusing on something else where my life was reborn. And every time I get down, every time I get off center, or every time I get feelings of poor me or anything along those lines, I refocus on getting into service because service in recovery is just the most magical, unbelievable, uplifting, spiritual process that you can engage in. When you can offer sobriety and help people trudge that road of happy destiny alongside of you and provide the community that comes with that, the spiritual living that comes with that, the purpose that comes with that, man, life is more beautiful than I ever thought it could be. And service is always just a couple feet away. I can reach out in any direction at any time, and I'm surrounded by opportunities for service. And that's what keeps me alive. That's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps me a good dad. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for the opportunities that I've been given in recovery. And what I've been doing for the last year, for the last 5 months, we invented a spectacular recovery program inside of prison. So to give you guys a little bit of a background, in maximum security prisons, there's almost no programming. And by that, I mean it is acutely violent. There is constant violence, stabbings, beatings, everything you can imagine, everything under the sun, and almost no access to recovery. There are some AA meetings, but nothing concrete, no step work. There are, you can speak to a chaplain. There are sometimes some high school and classes like that, but there's nothing really recovery based, and drugs are ubiquitous in prison. Fentanyl, meth, and spice in particular, it's fucking everywhere. So what we did was we brought in 16 mentors. These are all guys who have gone through substance abuse treatment certification. This is on a level 4 maximum security yard. And those 16 mentors are sponsoring 16 mentees who are just coming off the yard. These are all gang members, all guys who are incarcerated for a long period of time, who have never been a part of sobriety. This is their first entrance into the world of sobriety. And to watch these 16 mentors and 16 mentees, sponsors and sponsees essentially, work together every single week. I bring in my dogs and we sit and we give testimonials and we go over relapse prevention. We go over the steps. We go over criminal mindset. We go over all of these things. We go over how to have a conversation with ourselves as children. We go over speeches that we're going to give to family members at graduation, all of these incredible things. And for the first time, I've been able to take part in offering the gift of sobriety to incarcerated men, many of whom will never leave that prison. About half or more of my students are what we call LWOP, life without parole. And it's just been transformative. It's been such an incredible, uplifting experience. And to be able to offer the gift that was given to me, including, and to have it be dog facilitated is just the best thing in the world, dude. It's unbelievable. So I'm really excited to have that program coming into Marley's Mutts under the Marley's Mutts envelope, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that to other institutions, because the coolest thing about it is all of these guys who are certified OMCP certified counselors. What we're trying to push is for them to act as counselors in prison. So to have certified in prison mentors who are basically running guys through the steps on a regular basis, almost acting as employees of the institution. Wow. Because they're certified. They did a 16-month certification program. And the institution, Tehachapi State Prison, is starting to become open to the idea of utilizing these men as actual counselors, peer to peer. And so I'm really hopeful that this idea will grow and expand into the prison system.
That's incredible. So good. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
What matters most to you? Protecting your family, your home, your car, or planning for the future? State Farm makes it simple to protect what matters most. Agent Michael J. Bader is here in your community to guide you through every step, making sure you get the protection you need without the hassle. Whether it's auto, home, life, or business insurance, Michael J. Bader can help you find the right plan today. Call 520-878-0098 or email michael@baderagency.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey everybody, it's Chris.
Hey, it's David Samarano.
Hey guys, it's Clint Peak over here.
Hi, I'm Blair Lametti Matthias.
And I'm Summer Smeaton.
Hey, I'm Ron Arenas.
And I'm Will Pena.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Curry.
And I'm Mike Bader.
Hi there, I'm Bruce Ash.
Hi, Ed Wilkinson here.
Hi, this is Bob Elliott.
We are Live the Dream Media. Watch and listen to all of our shows Monday through Friday, only on the Live the Dream Media Network.
All right, guys, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've got an amazing guest today. Zach Skow is on the show. Show only exists because of Michael Bader State Farm Agency. So if you're in the insurance market, home insurance, auto insurance, boat insurance, he's at First and River. He has a State Farm agency. He's got about 4 women in the office. They will take great care of you. He saved me a boatload of money last year. Also, if you are a business owner, entrepreneur, or salesperson, and you know alcohol is running your life, and you want to find out who you really are on the other side of that, reach out to me. My website's running down below there. You can always DM me on my socials at Mike Curry. Zach, welcome back, man.
Thanks, bud.
So I know Alex has a couple questions for you because, I mean, he has a podcast called People Helping People, and he interviews some incredible guests as well. And he just he's over here in awe, just like I am hearing your story.
Yeah, super inspiring, man. And in finding your purpose in service of others. And I am just in awe when I hear other people take situations like what you had gone through, and I can relate. I was diagnosed with diabetes and type 1 diabetes and Crohn's disease. Almost took my life. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm there with you, as you're telling me this story. And for you to build something so incredible and be in service of others in the way that you are, I want to tip my hat to you first of all. But ask you, now that you poured the foundation, what does the future look like?
Oh, that's a great question. So, well, first of all, let me really congratulate you guys. Like, one of the things that I thought when I got sober is that there's no cool dudes out there who don't drink, you know? And I remember meeting you at that event, and when you walked up and seeing how confident with your shoulders back, I mean, you're a tall dude, but like how you can still really own space. Like, that's one of the best things we can do, you know, for our community right now, is just sober guys having this conversation, being confident and comfortable and vulnerable and emotional and spiritual. This is just the best thing for me. This is such good medicine. So what I believe, I truly, truly believe in the messages of Father Greg Boyle, who talks about and unpacks the idea that we all belong to each other, and that redemption is really one of the most holiest of accomplishments that you can offer or be a part of. And what I learned about the prison system, we started working in the side of the prisons in 2015. That's when we first started running Positive Change. And what I found in there are a whole bunch of people who have no access to hope or opportunity, but have tremendous amounts of potential, almost all of whom committed their crimes under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So here we have a bunch of guys who are very similar to my situation, only they're incarcerated and really have almost no way forward. And at the time, we didn't have a rescue ranch. Our rescue could only save the number of lives that our foster homes could support. And I discovered that the prison system could work perfectly as a foster mechanism where we could send dogs, young, large dogs who don't have the skills to get adopted, into prison. We would teach the students how to become dog trainers, how to become behaviorists, and we would guide those dogs through this 14-week long process. And what I immediately saw was these guys' capability, their conscientiousness, their ability as dog trainers and dog rescuers, and how fulfilling it was for them to be part of something greater than themselves. So, by virtue of participating in positive change, they could be part of service, and they could be part of showing their families via social media that they're part of something uplifting, that they're doing something to benefit their community instead of take away from it. They have almost no opportunity to show who they are, to demonstrate improvement. They're just kind of kept in these concrete cells with no path forward. So I really fell in love with the individuals. I fell in love with the people and their plight. And what we've been able to do over the last 11 years is rehabilitate, you know, more than 1,000 dogs who would have otherwise lost their life in these prisons. We've been able to really offer a trajectory of hope and opportunity and help these guys get out of prison and start their careers in the pet industry. So we have 30 formerly incarcerated dog trainers, many of whom were lifers, including juvenile lifers who served, you know, 20 to 30 years in prison, who are now members of the pet industry, who are behaviorist trainers, and they're doing incredible work in the rescue and animal sheltering industries. So what I want to do is continue in that work. We have a model where we can take two of the darkest aspects of our sociocultural problem, which are the animal sheltering system and the prison system, and we can kind of like integrate those two shadowy realms to benefit one another. So rather than just shoving dogs into shelters and keeping them in cages until they're euthanized or adopted, we can enrich them, we can meet their needs, we can give them the skills they need to get adopted and stay adopted, while at the same time providing incredible workforce development, sobriety, and spiritual work for these incarcerated who, it's hard for me to understate how violent and how drug addicted prison is. This is a terrible fucking place. I mean, across the board, absolutely terrible. I've been to probably a dozen prisons in California, and it is pretty unbelievable that the system exists as it does. But we've been able to offer this really bright element in our program. And when you bring a positive change program into a yard, it makes the entire yard safer. There's less drug use, there's less drug dealing, there's more cooperation with staff, there's more cooperation outside of gangs and race. You know, California prisons are rigidly segregated, so you're not interacting outside of your race, but when you're in our program, you are. So it offers all of these things that help soften the prison system to make it more productive and hopeful. You know, it gives these dogs a second chance at life in an incredible way. So what I'm really focused on is expanding our positive change program to be in more institutions, to work with more organizations to help save more dogs. We're also wanting to integrate as many new sober programs that I shared with you guys earlier, like the peer-to-peer program, so that we can really put these guys on a trajectory of hope and opportunity. I really truly believe in walking like Jesus. And while I'm not a typical Christian in terms of how I believe in Jesus, I follow the methods and the teachings of Jesus in order to be as effective as I can in service. And in that work, and in Jesus's work, he identified the incarcerated as a focal point. So there's no better, I have not discovered any better population to advocate for in terms of fulfillment than the incarcerated. These individuals want to get better so bad. They want access. They're just trying to come home, dude. They're just trying to come home and be with their families, and they want any access to improve themselves. But there's very little, so they have to scrounge and claw to try to get access to it. So my goals are to continue to build rescue dog programs in the prison system, sobriety programs, and really try to help the pet industry, which can't meet its employment needs. They don't have enough trainers, not enough behaviorists, not enough kennel technicians. We can meet those needs of the industry through our program. When our guys get out of prison, they can immediately get into entrepreneurial work as dog trainers, etc. So that's what I'm trying to push. That's what I'm trying to do. We're also trying to add some fun things at our rescue ranch. You know, we're only 2 hours north of LA. So if people want to come up to the rescue ranch and volunteer with our dogs and camp or do anything like that, we'd love to have folks up. So we're trying to build our positive change program in prisons. We're trying to, keep the ranch going, get more people to kind of interact with our rescue ranch. We want to make it a destination where people can come visit, all of those kinds of things.
So I actually have personal experience in the rescue dog. So I had a dog named Chance that I rescued, and then I became homeless and had to give the dog up because I couldn't even take care of myself. And hats off to all the homeless people that actually do take care of their dogs, because that is amazing. And so I ended up, when I got out of prison, I ended up going back to the shelter. I was living with a guy. I asked him, "Can I have a dog here?" He goes, "Yeah, that's fine." So Sunday I go to the shelter, I get this dog. His name's Bullet. I go, "Okay, you're gonna be Chance now." I renamed him Chance in memory of the last Chance who I couldn't keep, and brought him home. And the guy's like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I was like, "You told me I'd get a dog, you know?" And the first weeks were a little shaky because he snapped in the vicinity of my buddy's granddaughter. And he told me, "Get this dog out of here. Get him." He was a big blue nose pit. I get home, I reach home thinking I'm gonna have to remove him and take him somewhere else. He goes, "You know what, dude? It's all right. They were just playing rough with him, the guys. Forget about it." And I lived with this guy about a year. When I left, he goes, "Hey, can I buy that dog off you?" And I was like, "Hell no, this is my dog, man." And I had multiple people offer me money for him all the time. And the dog saved my life because I relapsed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, came back to Tucson. Everybody who was close to me at that time said, "Dude, you should probably go to rehab. You should probably get yourself checked in somewhere again." And I was not going to give this dog back to the shelter. That was my line in the sand at that moment. I was a felon at the time. I found a place that would rent to me, and I had a pit bull, so I had 2 strikes against me. And I went to 3 meetings a day. And, I helped him as much as he helped me. The who rescues who hashtag is so true. I mean, I believe in what you're doing so much. And again, I'm so thrilled to have the show. And I just wanted to share that with you because that's why, I thought it was so important to connect with you and go to that event. So thank you for what you do. It's incredible work. When you see a dog behind bars, you can't think of a person too. And they haven't been treated fairly. They haven't had a chance where they can really develop. Getting a dog is a full-time job. You have to train a dog. You have to, run them. You have to, give them activity and like that,
And in turn, you're training yourself is what I'm hearing, right? Like that's
exactly.
The healing actually comes from is you are instilling the things that you really need from yourself into your dog. So important.
100%. Yeah, exactly, dude. I didn't have it in me on my own. If I'm relying on my own internal motivation and, push to go do whatever, to go exercise or read a big book or go to a meeting, I'm not going to do it. But if a dog, needs me in order to, get adopted and live its life, then I'm willing to pitch in and contribute because that dog needs it. So, I had a very difficult time executing in life for myself. But when it came to executing in life for the dogs, I could do that a lot more easily.
Yeah, that's powerful, man.
It is. Yeah, and as I'm
Yeah,
listening,
and in the beginning, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that what's closer to God than a dog? They really
God
are.
spells backwards is dog.
It's really, gosh, yeah. As I'm listening to this, I'm having like this epiphany, this realization of consistent love, no judgment,
Yeah,
man's best friend. I mean, there's just so many things that are there that are
yeah,
unconditional and just
yeah.
ingrained in their DNA.
Yeah, I mean, dude, let's be real, like when we're in the throes of addiction and alcoholism, the thing that's really killing us isn't necessarily the alcohol or drugs, it is the self-loathing. It is
Mm.
the absolute commitment to fucking hating ourselves into the ground, that the only way um I should be able to be alive is if I'm mentally punishing myself enough for being such a piece of shit. It was a relentless, all-consuming, enveloping commitment to self-hatred. Like, and this was my experience anyway. I could not prevent myself from hating everything about myself, specifically about the wasted talent. Like, I was aware that I was a good man. I was aware that I could love well, that I was empathetic, that I was
Right.
spiritual, that I could soften myself, all of these things, but I just couldn't access any of it. I couldn't be the person that I needed to be because I hated myself so much. And what,
Go ahead,
go
sir.
ahead.
I used to wish that I
No,
did
no.
self-awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude.
Double-edged sword.
And what those dogs gave me in that time was this acceptance and this love and this really undying, incredibly powerful something about it too. Marley in particular, this dog back here, he was a 95-pound Rottweiler pit bull, so he had so much mass and he was so gnarly, and he would love me. Just his body pressure would give me this feeling of acceptance that I couldn't get anywhere else, that
Wow.
I could not get anywhere else, and I needed to start somewhere. And it was just that little bit of my dogs being around me, looking at me, breathing that kind of like acceptance into me. Cause I did not accept myself. I believed nobody else accepted me. I didn't think God accepted me. I didn't believe in God. So where the fuck am I supposed to go? I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in God. I don't believe you believe in me. What am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here? And those fucking dogs, man, Marley too, especially because I was so sick looking back then. Like, going out in public when you're in liver failure, you look very, very ill. Everyone's staring at you. I was yellow and purple, and I really looked sick. But when I had that dog with me, I could stand on I could 10 toes in, I could get out of the truck, I could go into the market, I could do things because he was with me. Remove that dog, I couldn't do anything. I had no self-confidence whatsoever, no self-esteem. I could not go out in public. I was terrified. One of the first times I went out in public, I ran into my drug dealer who I owed money to, and I'm like, oh, well, this is it. That's my signal to never go out in public again. You know what I mean? But Marley really helped me conquer that fear. He helped me. I started speaking at high schools and grade schools. I started to be the drug addict who went into school. Everyone remember that? You guys are a war on drugs. You guys are a DARE program type dudes, right?
Definitely.
Remember the DARE program? Remember
Yeah.
the dudes that we used to come into school and talk to you? I became one of those guys. you know? Yeah, man, like that dog just put me on a path of spirituality to opening the door to loving myself that has really allowed me to find my then wife and have two beautiful kids, because I really started to develop self-esteem. All of my self-esteem, I feel like, was developed in sobriety through service. All of it. I don't think my self-esteem came from accomplishments or things like that. It came from doing panels and going to hospitals and speaking to people about and sponsoring people in liver failure. It came from that. It came from feeling like I had worth on this planet, like the dogs needed me, like these people in recovery needed me. And when I started to maybe accept some of what my dogs were giving me. I was always so reluctant to accept positive energy about myself, accolades, compliments, just really resistant. And I finally started to be able to take some of it in and wear some of it and stick my shoulders back and have my chest out, my chin up. And I couldn't believe that I could be that way sober. I just could not believe I could walk into an event where, it's cocktail dress and there's 50 tables with people drinking champagne and I got to wear a suit and it's an animal rescue event and I'm there by myself sober. Like who would have ever thought? And that's what being part of Marley's Mutts required of me. I had to go to these events. I had to start doing all this stuff. And because I had a foundation in recovery, I was able to do those things and the obsession for me got lifted after about a year, and I haven't thought about alcohol since, which is fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't think I had a waking moment for 10 years where I didn't think about drugs or alcohol, like any waking moment where I would rather be doing drugs or alcohol. So to have it never cross my mind is truly a spiritual victory like no other.
Well, and talk about that a little bit. I mean, the obsession, a lot of people don't understand. It's an obsession of the mind, and you also have the allergy of the body, right? So once you start, you can't. Stop. And I don't think people that
Yeah,
aren't addicts
absolutely.
or alcoholics understand that. And to be able to walk
Hmm.
far and to be able to network with people and to be able to conduct business without having to think about drugs or alcohol is just an incredible amount of freedom.
That's a muscle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I remember the first time, dude. I remember going to this American Hero Dog Award event at the Beverly Hilton, and I'm like, oh, and Jesus Christ, I was experiencing all kinds of stuff. But I remember, and I was by myself, all kinds of celebrities and stuff there. And I remember going to the bathroom about halfway through and going like, I can't believe we did it. Like, I can't believe I'm comfortable here. I can't believe I've talked to all these people. I can't believe I'm kind of like holding court at the table. I couldn't believe, I just remember like literally in front of a urinal going like, thank you, God. Like, thank you, God. I can't believe this is possible, because I just thought I'd have to fake it for like my whole life, that I would just have to project confidence or self-esteem, and obviously nobody wants to do that. It doesn't come across genuine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of apprehension that men that try meetings, that try different things, but never really get a foundation set. I mean, that word you used is so crucial. You have to get a solid foundation, and you have
Yeah.
to start realizing, going out in public, getting some social skills where you're like, hey, I can actually do this without substances. I can hold my own. To your point, I mean,
Mhm.
it's so important.
Yep.
It's
And
a
you
re-
end up queuing into real emotions. What you end up feeling are all of these real emotions, and you end up understanding that they're not going to kill you, and that when you feel fear or you feel discomfort or you feel overwhelmed, it's also not going to kill you. It's just an emotion. You can identify the emotion and move through it. You don't have to mute it or nullify it or shut it down. So that was a big part of, and I think that also helped to go to meetings. In my meeting hall, we had a lot of emotion. We had a lot of old timers that didn't hesitate to talk about the bone marrow of life and the process of recovery, and also you were just talking about the obsession. I didn't think the obsession would ever be lifted, and I was okay with that. I kind of figured like I'll just be in this program, and but it was when my sponsor started suggesting to me that I pray about it, and I still felt very uncomfortable about prayer. I felt very uncomfortable about God. I grew up my grandfather was a communist and labor organizer, and we didn't ever go to church or believe in God, and I really truly believe that faith, belief without knowledge, is just ignorant and lunacy. Like, how could you ever believe in something without having? So it was very difficult for me to have a concept of God in the beginning. But when my sponsor made these suggestions, and he's an old Vietnam veteran from Venice, and he really changed the conversation to have me understand that when I'm praying, when I'm talking to God, I'm talking to the God alive in myself, that I'm trying to awaken and establish a communication between like the id and the ego, myself and the God inside of me. And what really happened, man, is like that upset. As soon as I started to pray again, which I felt ridiculous, he's like, get on your knees at the foot of your bed. And I'm like, are we fucking for real right now? We're doing this shit.
Yeah.
I felt foolish, but
Yeah.
it was in that experience that I really started to have relief, that I started to feel a spiritual connection, and then I remember the obsession like literally went away. And for a guy who was drinking a box of wine a day, I mean, I was drinking 8 bottles of wine a day at the end, just anything I could get my hands on. And for that to happen was truly miraculous. And honestly, I think that's the best part about recovery, is that recovery gets you on this path, this totally subjective path of your own to discover what spirituality means for you and what a God a God of your understanding consists of. What a spectacular journey. It's so much better than being part of a religion that tells you you have to believe X, Y, or Z, right? Here's what you got to believe. Here's what Christ did. Here's what Vishnu did. Here's what Buddha did. Here's what Zoroastrianism is. And you got to follow these ethoses and this book and whatever. But what recovery does is put you on a trajectory of establishing what God means to you on your own, whatever that is. And man, what a beautiful experience, to have that God be the people in your meeting hall and your children and the dogs that are in your life and the miracles that you've experienced, to be in charge of achieving and attaining your own spiritual journey was just the coolest thing about recovery to me, and remains the coolest thing about recovery to me. It allows me to go to the temple on Saturdays, the Buddhist temple in Sand Canyon. It allows me to go to church on Sundays. It allows me to go to the meeting hall on Tuesdays and Fridays. I can take in all of this spiritual depth from all of these different angles, and I don't feel violative in any way. I don't feel like I'm crossing boundaries. I feel like all of it is good, and I just love that.
I love that. And I'm sure you've read this part in the book where it says God is either everything or he's nothing. Who do you choose him to be? I mean, to me, that was super powerful, because you can't say God is the guy living up in the foothills, but he's not the homeless guy down on the south side of town, right? You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
So if God is everything, then he speaks, my spiritual gifts, the way I talk to God, or the way I hear God, is through other people. Some people actually get visions. Some people, God talks directly to them. For me, it's in my daily conversations, and there'll be little breadcrumbs that are left from people. And, I know that I'm on the right path when I'm talking to these people and they're speaking things that I'm like, God, what is going on here? And I'm like, this is actually where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. 100%. I'm just I'm so delighted at how the recovery system has introduced me to spirituality, because I really just believe that, for the rest of my life I would be, sort of an atheist in protest. And I was very proud of that. I was very proud of being able to, from a mental, philosophical standpoint, sort of take on the religious sector, because I really didn't appreciate or approve of so much of what was happening in the name of religion. I viewed it as dogmatic judgment and very negative. So to be introduced to a spirituality via the program has been really, really special. And I think it's what it's what a lot of people miss, sometimes even intentionally. When they go into the program, they think, oh, all this God stuff, get all this God stuff away from me. No, 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 no. It's a God of your understanding. It is nobody else's. It is yours and unique to you. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Go experience all these different layers and mechanisms of spirituality, and see what fits for you, see what resonates, and see what you feel most inspired by. And having that freedom to kind of trudge your own road, I really, really appreciate about recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that. As somebody who is new to walking that line of finding my spirituality as well, and Mike and I were just discussing, when I reached my hand out and just said, you know what, I don't know what this relationship is going to be between you and I, but I'm here for it. My whole world changed. So you're talking about the constructs and finding something that works for you, and how Mike finds God is different than how you find God, and how I find God is different. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it's the most important thing about recovery. It really truly is. And so many of us shut ourselves off to it because we think it's a whole nother dogma that we have to take on. It's like, I'm already taking on recovery, and now you want me to take on God? You want me to take on this whole big mechanism that I got to integrate into my life? Like, dude, how do I do that? But
right?
Yeah,
that conversation takes the load off. It really it lightens the load, and I realized I couldn't run the businesses and have the podcast and do all this alone. And I'm like, you know what? Here I am. Please, guide, give me something here, because the weight was heavy, and it lifted that weight.
And like, what I'm hearing from you is that you listen to other people, and my best thinking got me to, drinking a box of wine a day. So I should probably not do all the thinking moving forward. And it was those suggestions, it was the ridiculous suggestions that my sponsor and others made that I listened to. Like, despite my initial reaction was want to be like, dude, I swear to God, guys, if you mention any more of this God shit to me, like I already told you, I already explained it to you. I'm gonna figure out this recovery thing without all this God bullshit. Just leave me out of it. And it was the second I stopped, allowing my brain to do all the thinking and took some suggestions where I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, to the point where I did this breath work exercise, with another group of alcoholics. And it was remarkable. I mean, it's hard to explain, but in a somatic breathwork experience, you can feel God inside of you. You can feel and locate a bright emanating light within you. And to get to experience that and to get to feel that in a breathwork setting, again, completely sober, and to like be able to recognize the existence of God in myself is just remarkable, and I would have really closed myself off to all that like fooey nonsense had I not, allowed other people's thought processes in.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for your time today, man. We know you've got a busy day ahead of you. If you just want to shout
Yeah.
out your website or what you're doing today, once again, with raising the money so people out there listening can
Yeah. So today is Give Big Kern. It's the biggest charitable giving day of the year for us here in Kern County and for nonprofit organizations. So marleysmutts.org. That's MarleysMutts.org. You can find us at Marley's Mutts, at Zach Skow, ZachSkow, or the Positive Change Program, PAWSITIV. Yeah, we're all over the place, all over all the socials. And yeah, we really greatly appreciate your support today. And guys, thanks a lot for letting me come on here and ramble.
Hey, thank you, man. You have a wonderful day. Best of luck to you. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Pleasure.
Cheers, gents. Thank you.
Bye.